Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
Mr. Eric Balkman, High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, Fantasy Football Players Champions, RotoViz, Better Network, also hosts his own show over at The Score in Appleton. Dude, how's it going this morning, Eric?
Going good, Dan. So glad to be back on with you and talking fantasy football as Week 3 kicks off tonight. It's a great time to be a fantasy football player.
Absolutely, man. And a lot of people are excited that you're back on because our texting line is loaded with questions for you. So I don't know if it's because they need a lot of help or they're just excited to get your input. Maybe it's kind of both, but I'm ready to dive in if you are, sir.
Yeah, fire away.
All right, so this is Chad. Chad's got actually a couple questions he wants to ask you. Flex question, PPR, wants a part of the Chargers offense, Quentin Johnson or Amarian Hampton?
Yeah, I mean, if it's full PPR, this makes it more interesting because Johnson apparently has just had a magnet to the end zone the first couple games of the season. He's already got 3 touchdowns. Hampton's been splitting a lot of time with Najee Harris, something I did not see happening earlier in the season or earlier in drafting season, obviously with Harris dealing with this eye injury. It's close for me, and obviously the Denver defense is going to do you no favors. However, Daniel Jones looked really good against that vaunted Broncos front last week. I still lean towards Hampton. Perhaps it's because I own a lot more Hampton than Johnson, and I'm more of a believer in him. I think it's valid to bring up Johnston over Hampton this week, but when it comes down to it, I think I'd be more likely to still include Hampton in there over Johnston, at least for one more week.
Another question, Kyle Pitts or Tyler Warren this week?
Yeah, Pitts has been really coming on, and he gets a really good matchup against the Carolina Panthers. It is on the road. However, I don't know how you sit Tyler Warren at this point with how involved he's been in that Indianapolis offense. This guy is coming up on the upper echelon of the elite tight ends right now in the NFL if he keeps this up, and I do think he will. He gets a really good matchup on the road against Tennessee as well. He is questionable for this game right now, so keep an eye on that. Obviously, that decision might be made for you based on whether he practices or whether he plays or not on Sunday. But if he's active, I'm playing Warren over Pitts.
We got another PPR question. PPR wide receiver 2 and a flex. They need 2 of these: Troy Franklin, Michael Pittman, Juan Jennings, Jamison Williams, or Hollywood Brown.
Okay, this is interesting. So you got Franklin, who's the waiver wire darling this week. He's at the Chargers. Pittman, as we just mentioned with Warren, he's at Tennessee. Hollywood Brown is going to be taking on. I just had this in front of me. I apologize. He is battling at the Giants this week, so he's got a pretty good matchup. And then you said the other 2 besides. Jamison Williams was one, right?
Yep,
Jamison Williams, who's obviously underwhelmed a little bit so far this season. He gets the Ravens this week, and then the final one, Dan, was what?
Juwan Jennings.
Juwan Jennings, who actually came on quite a bit last week and led the 49ers with target share. So if you got to pick 2 of them, it's too early for Franklin. I think that number 2 Broncos receiver could change week to week, and when you have these other options, I think he is an easier sit here. I do like Jamison Williams. I think I'm going to play Jamison Williams and Juwan Jennings this week. It's close between Jamison Williams for sure against the Ravens. Jennings versus Marquise Brown is very close. I think I lean towards Jennings. He's dealing with a bit of an injury right now too, so keep an eye on that. And if he's still truly a game-time decision, then I think it's a slam dunk Marquise Brown.
Staying with Jamison Williams, I might as well ask this because somebody else had texted in just a general question. If I can afford, should I trade away Jamison Williams after the week he had last week?
That is a good question. Maybe. I wish I could give a better answer than this because it kind of depends upon your league, right? I am of the belief that better games are going to come for Jamison Williams. However, I think the reports that this was going to be his offense this year with John Morton and that it was going to be St. Brown taking a back seat, I think those have been exaggerated. So I would if you have to right now and you can get 90 cents on the dollar for him, then sure. I think that's fine. But I do think you can wait, and I'm fine with getting rid of him too, by the way. I think you can wait for that game that he's going to have, 5 catches, 140 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That game's coming, and I think that's the right time to trade him. He did have the nice game last week, but quite frankly, anybody not named Laporta had a great week for Detroit in week 2.
I've got another PPR, flex PPR, R.J. Harvey or Trey Benson.
Yeah, boy, the Benson thing in Arizona is getting very interesting. James Conner, I don't want to say he took a back seat to him, but we saw a huge switch in touches, snap count, and target share, and snap share, quite frankly, for the Cardinals last week. I don't think either one of these guys are a great start, quite frankly. Benson's at the Niners, Harvey's at the Chargers. The thing is, Tyler Bidet, something I didn't see coming, is affecting that Denver backfield as well. It's not just J.K. Dobbins. And you have a sort of a 3-headed attack there, where in Arizona it's just Benson and Connor. So while I would prefer to bench both these guys this week, if you do have to play one, play Benson, because he should be getting more volume and more touches than Harvey will this week in Los Angeles.
Half-point PPR, flex position, Keenan Allen, Cortland Sutton, or Bill Krosky?
Oh, yeah, here we go. So half-point PPR obviously skews more towards the running backs here. If we look at the matchups for these guys this week, I just mentioned that the Chargers are taking on the Broncos, obviously. So Keenan Allen will probably not be matched up against Surtain in that game. I would imagine that's Ladd McConkey if Surtain travels, which I should look this up. I don't know if he travels or not. But if he does travel and McConkey's healthy, I would imagine that McConkey would be covered more by Surtain than Keenan Allen. And then you have Krosky Merritt, who's everybody's darling, who actually fell on his face against that vaunted Green Bay Packers defense last week. He gets the Raiders, which is a softer matchup this week, and I think he's a solid flex play as well. It was Keenan Allen, Krosky Merritt, and the third one, Dan, was who again?
It was, let me bring it back up here, Cortland Sutton.
Cortland Sutton, that's right. A guy who took a backseat to everybody. Mims and Franklin, and Cortland Sutton ended up having 1 catch last week in a game that saw Bo Nix put the ball in the air 30 times. He gets that tough Chargers defense this week. I still think I lean toward, even though it's half-point PPR, I think I lean towards last week being a one-off, and I think Sutton gets a lot more involved this week. So I'm definitely sitting Keenan Allen, but it comes down to Sutton and Krosky Merritt. If you want to live dangerously, play Sutton, and I think I do here. Krosky Merritt's a safer bet for more volume, but he won't get the high-value touches that Cortland Sutton will get in the passing game.
All right, staying with a little bit of running backs. Mike with the text said, I'm in an 8-man league with 7 of my own children, and it's pretty competitive. I don't have a running back, though. I just didn't draft right, and I've got Aaron Jones, who's hurt, and J.K. Dobbins, and I was wondering if there's any names of young and upcoming running backs that I might be able to pick up on the waiver wire.
If you're in an 8-team league, I mean, there should be some pickups off the waiver wire that you can. I mean, I don't. Again, this is just guessing, but 3 rookies that sort of broke out last week in week 2 may or may not be available. And Quinshon Judkins, Cam Scatabo, and Bashal Tutin. Those guys are probably all owned in most 10-team leagues and certainly all 12-team leagues. But I think I would look at those guys for sure. Nobody wants to talk about Tyler Algier, but Algier is still getting touches in Atlanta, sharing the backfield with Bijan Robinson. Everybody wants to talk about Bijan Robinson, but they forget about Algier. He might be available out there. He's somewhat young, I would say, a guy to keep in mind for sure. Kyle Monungai seems to be eating into DeAndre Swift's workload in Chicago. He's a guy I would look at. And if it's PPR, certainly Jeremy McNichols is going to catch some passes against the Raiders this week, assuming he's healthy. He's not necessarily all that young anymore, but certainly a guy that might be able to help you in a pitch. And the final guy I mentioned, too, Woody Marks, a guy that only caught 1 pass on Monday Night Football for the Texans. 37 yards is what it went for, and he's getting more and more involved in that Houston offense, too. So that's another young, up-and-coming guy, and certainly another rookie to keep your eye on.
John has a question. My fantasy football question is, would you start Jaden Daniels this weekend, even with the injury concern? My bench quarterbacks are C.J. Stroud, and I picked up Daniel Jones this week just in case, and I'm having a hard time trusting Stroud at the moment.
Yeah, I would not trust Stroud if those are your other two options. I'm looking this up right now because I think that what it comes down to is when these guys play, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Commanders on Sunday have a 1:00 game, so you will know at that point. And Daniel Jones does not play until 1:00. Excuse me, noon. I always forget noon on Sunday, not 1:00. So you're looking at those two guys as the two players you're considering. If Daniels is active, even as hot as Daniel Jones has been, I can't in good conscience sit Jaden Daniels or Daniel Jones. I feel like the slipper could break this week or come off. I don't really know the Cinderella story. But Daniel Jones is a player that I get it if you want to play him ahead of Jaden Daniels. But if Daniels is active against the Raiders, I'm playing him.
Brandon's got a question. Zach Ertz versus the Raiders or Sam Laporta versus the Ravens?
Laporta seems like he came out of that game against the Bears healthy enough. He's not even listed on the initial injury report this week. It's close between these two, obviously. I lean towards Laporta against the Ravens. I think that could potentially be a high-scoring game. For as much talent as the Ravens have in that secondary, in that back four, they sure give up a lot of yardage. And so I'm going to roll with Laporta there. It's close with Ertz, and Ertz obviously has developed a rapport with Daniels, and obviously if Daniels is hobbled, he's going to be running less and certainly more passes underneath and over the middle to Ertz. But I think I lean towards Laporta here over Ertz for the higher ceiling.
Let's do just a couple more here. Ben's got a running back question. Isaiah Pacheco against the Giants or Travion Henderson versus the Steelers?
Two guys that really, really underwhelmed this past week. It was really tough for Pacheco. I think he had 10 for 22 or something like that. And then Travion Henderson, who was a very exciting player during draft season, ends up taking a backseat to Ramondre Stevenson, and to add insult to insult, his other backfield mate, Antonio Gibson, scores a touchdown on a kickoff return as well. So, both of these matchups are decent. I would prefer, I guess if this is your running back two, it's not great. If it's flex, okay, maybe. I lean towards Pacheco here. I don't feel great about it. Certainly the ceiling play would be Henderson. So if you do need that extra, if you are a significant underdog, Henderson's probably the way to go. If you're a favorite in your matchup right now, I think Pacheco has a much higher floor than Henderson does.
All right, last question here for you. Zach is asking, general question, would you keep A.J. Brown in a lineup or bench him after the first few weeks he's had in a PPR league?
I have been dealing with this myself in a couple of leagues, and I said I was talking with somebody on one of my shows on Tuesday night, and he said he's giving it one more week. But if we put up with one more week of A.J. Brown getting 2 for 20, where the Eagles are just setting the professional football game back 100 years with all this rushing, then he's starting to look at A.J. Brown as a sit. It obviously depends upon who else you'd have on your bench when it comes to A.J. Brown. I'm leaving him in, but some other guys that I would play over him right now that you probably drafted after A.J. Brown, I'd play Rome Odunze over him this week. I'd play Zay Flowers over him this week. Jackson Smith and Jigba, obviously you're going to play him over Odunze this week, over A.J. Brown. And Mike Evans I would play over A.J. Brown as well. So those are all players. If you have those guys on your bench and decided between those guys and Brown, I think I would rather play all of those guys over A.J. Brown and leave him on my bench.
He's Eric Balkman, man. Fantasy Football Players Championship, High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, RotoViz, Better Network. You can catch his show on The Score in middays, 11 to noon, right, Eric? 11 to noon over at The Score?
That's correct.
Yep. And then also appearances on SiriusXM. Dude, you're all over the place, man. We appreciate you taking some time and answering some questions over here on this side of the state.
Absolutely, Dan. Enjoy the game tonight. Enjoy the game on Sunday. I'm going to go celebrate with a man cave light now.
I like it, man. That a boy. All right. Hey, we'll talk soon, okay, bud?
Got it.
All right. There you go. Eric Balkman. Good stuff from Mr. Eric Balkman.